Mind of Jordan Peterson, born a leader then. A couple grams of ketamine, turn me evil in. Thought I could get away with selling my soul to Ben Shapiro. For more he keep telling me so. The devilish road, I walk along, crossing lines to follow God. Saw the light that fell into the dark of Babylon and gone mad with power, not a coward. Still I act out of my ways of past cowardice. Before I know the feel of realness and the true pain of holding in guilt until it builds and consumes you. I saw, heard, it felt too much to not go psycho. And I don't trust nobody no more, no way, no. You a psychopath, 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 psychopath. I know you a psychopath, 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 psychopath. You a psychopath, 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 psychopath. I know you a psychopath, 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 psychopath. 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 Psychopath, psychopath. You a psychopath, 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 psychopath. You a psychopath, 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 psychopath. You a psychopath, 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 psychopath. Peterson, not to be confused with Jordan Peterson. This is Jordan with an E. Back in the day before Ben Shapiro, the little weirdo, Jordan was a hero. Flow cleaner than stereo, spit truth in your ear hole. Lyrics deeper than seagulls, bars out the box like Pop-Tarts and Eggos. Life is suffering, so get a better shovel. Before Ben Shapiro, this is how Jordan was humble, till he signed a contract and took the satanic bundle. Now he's spitting out puddles, that boy's in trouble. You used to be a beast, Jordan used to be a beast. Jordan used to be a beast, Jordan used to be a beast. Used to be a beast, Jordan used to be a beast. Jordan used to be a beast, Jordan used to be a beast. His life was hell before he went to hell. Popped a couple of benzos, now he cannot spell. Stuck in an inferno with his buddy Ben. That is what you get for doing it for the trends. He sounds like Kermit the Frog when he says LGBTQ. It's a shame that Ben Shapiro took away his mind and his cool. So let's gather around the fire and listen to his rants. This is what he said before his drug-filled trance. You used to be a beast, Jordan used to be a beast. Jordan used to be a beast, Jordan used to be a beast. Used to be a beast, Jordan used to be a beast. Jordan used to be a beast, Jordan used to be a beast. What's up, my name's Jordan, and I'm not important. I just wrote a book that I call my baby orphan. This is how I feed it, I smoke a lot of crack. I got a fat sack, then I take a fat nap. He thought he could fly, but he took the wrong pill. Now he's got an old buddy named Dr. Phil. You. Jordan, and I'm not important. I just wrote a book that I call my baby orphan. This is how I feed it, I smoke a lot of crack. I got a fat sack, then I take a fat nap. He thought he could fly, but he took the wrong pill. Now he's got an old buddy named Dr. Phil. You.
This is a Dissident Media production. DissidentMedia.net.
In a world where everything sucks, two men have the balls to laugh at it. This is The System is Down.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Pope is dead, and Kanye West likes his cousin a whole lot. Oh, and Jordan Peterson's a psychopath. Go share the show.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is brought to you in part by almost entire part, we can just say entirety, by you guys in the Downers Club, people like William Ogle, Sir Turd, Nathan Gall, Keen Over, Gilda Kate, John Winshire, Bob Seifert, Drugs for Robots, Autumn Pangea, Sean Van Beaverhout, Carolina, Trashman, Abrogate Dees, Maxwell, Kim Yippee, Zanger, Justico, Silas, Denise, Perry, Adam, Donald, Matt, Osmataz, Danielle, Sean Luke Picard, Stoney, Hefflums, SDG, Level Zero, Vanzot Media, Rick Duran, Javari, Tim Brown, Howie Snowden, Nathan Sipes, Mary Rome, John Barnhouse, William Wells, and many, many more. If you want to get your name on that list and have it read in correctly someday, go on over to patreon.com/The System is Down, where you'll get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more weekly content. Yes, weekly. We've been doing it weekly again, so get in there. If you want the after party today, we'll probably end up talking about some libertarian dumb drama shit, so if you want to get that and also support what we've got going on here, go on over to patreon.com/The System is Down. Now, hi, it's me, and I can't do this alone, but Dave's not here, because Dave had to work late today. But you can't just replace Dave with one person. You got to replace him with two. So I called in the reinforcements to maybe two heads are almost as good as Dave's one. Let's find out. We do have a guest. I know it's been a long time since we've had a guest, but our guests today are two. They are the Good Morning Liberty folks who are not on this screen yet because I am professional and set things up properly, but the confetti is going. There they are. Hey, there's one of them.
That looks good too.
What's up, guys?
Say hi, John. That looks great.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. We got it. There we go.
Oh, yeah. It's all worked out now. We got it.
Hey, first off, screw that Dave guy. I don't know what he's doing, but it's not cool.
It's
like
not
this.
nearly as important as this. He's missing our first guest. Like we haven't had guests on in like probably 6 months or so. It's usually just me and Dave. We do something similar to what you guys do, it seems. Talking about bullshit that's going on in the news. Tell a little bit about you guys for those that aren't familiar before we get into some of the news today.
Well, we are Nate and Charlie from Good Morning Liberty. We do a live show every single day of the week when we want to. Been doing it now for a few years. We got 1,500 episodes of libertarian goodness out there for you guys to check out. So thank you for having us.
Libertarian.
Absolutely.
It's full MAGA.
Full MAGA goodness.
It's full MAGA goodness.
So you guys are still rocking the whole libertarian thing, right? That I know a lot of people have dipped out of that scene entirely, but you guys are still like, nope, we're keeping the name, we're sticking to it, we're sticking to our guns.
I know you can't tell, but I said that with a small L. So
sure.
Kind of tough.
Thanks for clarifying.
You do have
It
to
is.
live.
I have
So-
a lisp. It's a
Yeah.
problem, But yeah, we're members of the Tennessee party for sure. So our state party, you should support your state party.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. And I also
Maybe.
don't know anything about the Illinois State Party, but it is what it is. Do you? Well, here's confetti again. I guess you guys get more confetti. Do you guys, when you're supporting your state party, and again, we're going to get more heavily into this stuff in the after party, but in supporting your state party, do you guys get into the the politics of it and all? Do you go and vote on the bylaws and argue about Robert's Rules of Order and say things like dilatory a lot?
We did go to the convention this year. I did not vote on any bylaw. Actually, I think I forgot to vote really the whole time. But this year was our first time really going and participating as members of the party, and it felt very, very powerful to be that important.
I've done it a few times.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I've done it a few times. I don't think I ever vote on the bylaws. I think I maybe have seconded something once.
In fact, as you probably already knew, we actually won this here award from the Libertarian Party of Tennessee. It's the Peyton Manning Rookie of the Year award. Went to Good Morning Liberty. There we go. Pretty awesome. Thanks to
Nice.
those guys for giving that to us.
What does one have to do to get the Peyton Manning Rookie of the Year award from the Libertarian Party of Tennessee?
Basically, they needed me to join the party and start doing stuff. I don't know. I guess it's because we interview people and talk about things that that LPTM wants to talk about, and finally got involved instead of just talking about things. But we've recently switched back to just talking about things mainly.
So we came, we got our award, then we dipped out and said, good luck, y'all.
Well, I mean,
It's been
that
fun.
was the goal, right? I mean, we achieved the goal. We got
Yeah.
the award, and there's no real point in being here anymore.
Yeah,
Once you're an
and-
award-winning podcast, what else is there left to do?
Yeah, you'll figure that out someday, I'm sure.
accolades, all the accolades. Now you guys do similar type stuff to us, right? You guys kind of bullshit about stuff that's going on in the world. You take a look at the news and you tell dick and fart jokes about it much of the time, right?
No, we're very serious, actually.
Oh, my bad.
No, they're serious dick and fart jokes that we tell. Yeah, basically the same thing. I mean, Charlie and I have been friends for like 20 years or so, something like longer than that, actually, because my 20-year high school reunion is coming up in a few months, and so it's longer than that.
Like 25 years, something like that.
And so, we talk to each other like we would normally talk to each other without microphones present, and then we do the news. That's about it.
So you just do what you would normally do, but with a million more technical complications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way harder.
A lot of it is extremely sarcastic that not everyone picks up on, which is fine.
I'm familiar.
I think everyone picks up on it.
Yeah.
I think you'll fit in perfectly here then, because we start out every news section typically with good news. The good news of the week is that J.D. Vance went to meet the Pope this week.
That is the good news, isn't it?
That's very nice of him.
He did a good job, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he did great. And
Did
then
he
the
shake
Pope
his
died
hand?
immediately after.
Was that poison in the interview? Did he shake his hand?
Yeah, with the poison from that's what it was.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe J.D. Vance is the one that killed him. But I don't know. There was a post by J.D. Vance after he shook the Pope's hand, or after he met the Pope, and he's like, he's a great guy, and I wish him the best of health. And then it's like 30 seconds later, the Pope is dead. Like that post aged worse than the Pope.
Oh man, I apologize to all the Catholics. I'm sure this is very offensive, and people are very sad. And we should just keep in mind, that there are many, many sad people out there about the president of Catholicism dying. And I was very sad to find out that news. My first reaction was sad, for sure. So I don't know what you guys are doing, making fun of this guy's.
I was overwhelmed with grief before I looked into some of his tweets, and I know that you guys have covered some of his tweets over the years. And what are some of your greatest hits for Pope tweets? I don't follow him that closely, but I know you guys have a few bangers, right?
Well, he is unfortunately he was. It's so hard to just realize that he
It's hard
did
to let go, you know.
I don't know if I want to call him a socialist or whatever, but he was pretty anti-capitalist, anti-markets, anti-competition, and he was framed himself as this guy who really, really cared about the poor. And what made me dislike him so much was that he was advocating often against the ideology that has helped the most amount of poor people ever in the history of the whole world, which either made him actually evil or just an idiot. Either one of those two, or both. Could be a combination of both of those things. I don't know.
Well, I think where he really crossed the line was the whole Green New Deal, climate change stuff.
That's
I think once you get into that realm of like the left, that's too much. Yeah. You can make an excuse for the Pope being like, "Hey, we should help more people out, even if we steal some money to do it." You'd be like, "Okay, well, maybe he's advocating for just helping people." But no, he went so far as to advocate for climate change measures, and as if we're supposed to stave off God's apocalypse somehow,
Gonna trick him.
and that's going too far.
Mm-hmm.
So he politicized himself, and Nate may feel bad. I don't feel bad. I have half my family's Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were they sad?
Not a single one called me. And
Did you call them?
reach out to
No.
your Catholic loved ones. Make sure they're doing
As
okay.
far as I know, there was no
Like
weep.
you don't have to be Catholic or anti. Like you don't have to be anything to know that he had some really shitty takes. And he did. Sad when somebody dies, no matter what their takes are, I suppose. But if those ideas die along with him, then great. I highly doubt they're going to get somebody in there who's any better at this point, since new precedents have been set by this pope. But we shall see. And there was one picture that came out of it. It was the final picture of the pope before he died. I'm pretty sure here is J.D. Vance pouring Jesus juice into the pope while Marjorie Taylor Greene smokes a bong held by the pope. I don't know if it's disrespectful to share this picture, but I didn't take the picture. I didn't pose in the picture. I just found it on the internet, so it's obviously true.
All that was missing from that was JD Vance's couch.
That's right.
That's all we needed.
His +1, yeah. Now, have you guys seen the movie Conclave by chance?
I have not. I've been thinking about watching it. Like,
No.
I'm considering. I've started the process of considering to watch that movie.
That's about as far as you need to go, really. But I watched it. My wife and I watched it, and my wife's a Catholic, and we went into it thinking that this is a great, beautiful, open-minded movie, like just exploring what happens when the Pope dies. What is the process there? And that part was mildly interesting. Spoiler alert: that the end. And if you don't want to hear the spoiler, feel free to plug your ears or whatever. But at the end, it turns out that the Pope, the new Pope, the replacement Pope, is an Afghanistan not quite trans individual. And it's all because this person knows the devastation of war. So everybody, hats off to the Afghanistan tranny Pope. And hopefully we all get lucky and it goes in that direction so we can have a more diverse Catholicism or whatever. I don't know how it works.
How do they pick a new Pope? How do they pick that? They all vote on it or something? But does
I think the bishops, they have a chess tournament,
okay.
and the winner of the chess tournament, becomes king.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes
Pope.
sense.
So they call him a pope because
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That
That's
sounds
just
right.
speculation.
I can't prove it, but it sounds right. It rings true.
I don't want to be offensive to your. With all due respect, the whole thing seems it's like a little weird to me, just a little bit, that you would like vote for this guy who's gonna, this Pope was pretty different from a lot of the other popes, and now, as you said, it's gonna be hard for them to kind of go back to more conservative version afterwards, because not only would that maybe make some people mad, it would also sort of throw some questions at the whole process. Like, wasn't this guy picked because that was the direction that like God wants the church to go? And it's kind of weird if all of a sudden God was like, nope.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know how Catholic politics work. According to Conclave, it seems like it is a voting process, and a very rigorous one, where there's a lot of undermining, and it works exactly the same as normal politics. So I guess that's how you decide who is the most spiritual, by politics and backstabbing. I don't know.
Yeah. Good.
That sounds about right.
Sounds good. I'll check out the movie. I haven't seen it.
One of the things
Feel free
we
if you
covered
got
on the
3
show-
hours to kill. What?
One of the things we covered on our show was the fact that the Catholic Church probably sits on, it's around $200 billion, and so I just find it fascinating
That's a lot of billion.
Of
I thought it
his-
was a different billion.
of
You
his
sure?
take on making sure everyone else contributes, while the Catholic Church, they have almost as much money as Elon Musk, which means we could house all the homeless in the world.
Mm-hmm. All the criticisms that they throw at Elon Musk, like, go do it. Feel free.
Yeah.
Do it. No, but if they gave away all that, they wouldn't be able to talk about it anymore, because they'd lose their whole platform, And so it's important for people. It's kind of like how AOC and Bernie got to have those private jets to fly around and talk about the evil rich people.
Yeah.
And if they weren't able to fly on the private jets, it would kill their ability to go talk about rich people. And
Yeah, I
so
saw
it
that
makes
headline this week too. It was like Bernie Sanders and AOC take $15 million private jet on their destroy the oligarchy tour or something like that. It's like, you can't make this shit up, but it's the same thing. It's been going on the entire, all the way. Bill Gates, or not Bill Gates, Al Gore has been saying that the world's going to end since, I was a wee lad, and it's still not ended, and they're still buying the beachfront properties and all those things. But any day now, I'm sure the rich people will destroy the earth with their greedy capitalism.
Well, have you seen all the the mega churches too? Like how they're portrayed in Righteous Gemstones, which is probably pretty accurate depiction.
I haven't seen it, but I'll have to watch that one now.
Oh my God, it's so good. But there was a mega church pastor, Kenneth Copeland. I'm not sure if you've heard of him or not before.
I have heard of Kenneth Copeland. I may have seen him as a child live, actually.
He was questioned on why he needed a private jet, and that's because regular commercial planes have demons.
Oh
no, I haven't seen Kenneth Copeland, but I'm very familiar with his work. And
he fly privately to make sure he could get to his mission work, and that the demon wouldn't take a commercial plane down, because him and his team could pray over the private plane.
You can't be too careful. Honesty, and Jesus doesn't respect those public planes, for the plebs.
Yeah, I know. There are demons on those planes. It's just like that girl said, he was like, that's not real.
Yeah.
I think he's right about this. I don't even disagree with him with this. I think he's right.
I like it. Now, moving on, we have, speaking of, let's find a transition here. Speaking of, I don't know, fake stories and whatnot. We've got this from White House. The whitehouse.gov has a new page on their website about the lab leak. And this is, I think it's at, if you type in covid.gov, it comes up as the main White House COVID shit. I'm going to get this camera out of here. If Dave joins, we'll add him, but whatever. It's got Trump at the top, lab leak, the true origins of COVID-19. The origin, and it goes through like that it was a lab leak and all the stuff that we've all been saying and whatnot all through COVID. Very interesting. Then it ends with the Anthony Fauci pardon, which is just kind of thrown in there as like a wink, wink. We got this covered. I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. He does, or it does. I'm sure Trump didn't write this, but it gets into even Andrew Cuomo's failure and all that stuff. Like a lot of the things that I'm sure you guys covered on your show. If your show was going on at the time, I don't know. But with this, I don't know. I'm a skeptical asshole much of the time, and I'm like, this is cool. This is really cool that you guys are putting this out there. But this kind of feels like the Pam Bondi Epstein release, where it's like, see, we're doing stuff. And then months go by and nothing has happened. We still don't have that release that supposedly happened 2 months ago, the Epstein files. Now we've got this like, oh, yes, we are against the COVID thing. Also, it should be noted that the Operation Warp Speed and the vaccine itself aren't really mentioned on this website all that much, because Trump seems to not want to get into those types of matters. But all the other people, he's throwing them under the bus and he's stirring shit up. Do you guys think that Fauci's preemptive pardon will be overturned, or is this going to be another nothing burger hype story?
I personally don't think the pardon will be overturned. I don't think Trump will want to set that precedent, because he's probably going to want to throw out some pardons himself when he's leaving office. And I just don't think he's going to want to open that whole can of worms. I had the same reaction you did when I saw the website. I was like, yeah, that's really cool. That is, it's really cool to see the government website, covid.gov, saying that kind of thing after all the crap we went through with COVID from the government. Some of it was Trump's government, by the way, but whatever. It's cool to see that, but it's just a website, and it might make some people feel cool for a minute, but I don't think that should mean that we all forget about it and move on now that we got our website.
Have you ever seen anyone from government go to jail besides like people exposing government crimes, like Snowden? And
no,
has anyone in government that's actually like committed any crimes gone to jail, or is it the person exposing the crimes that goes to jail?
Most commonly, I would say it's people exposing bad things that the government did.
Yeah. So that's probably what's still going to happen. When I saw it, I was immediately pissed.
Wait, Trump just exposed bad things that the government did. Does that mean Trump's going to jail? Maybe Trump goes down and they arrest Trump. Now they finally get him for the Operation Warp Speed stuff, because they're like, hey, you're right. This is true, that it was this whole lab leak and everything, and this was an entire psychological operation, and it all started with Operation Warp Speed. So you're going down first, bud. Come with us.
It would fit the clown world that Trump ends up being the one that goes to prison for things during COVID. I mean, that I'm not going to say that's not possible. They try to get him on so many things, and then the thing that ends up sending him to prison is COVID, and everyone else who had anything to do with it the whole time just skates right by. I might put money on that one. It's the craziest sounding thing, so that might be the.
Yeah, I feel like I could put more money on that than I could put on that Trump's going to overturn Fauci's pardon and arrest him. I would be more. I would be less surprised if somehow Trump got arrested for trying to expose this.
When I first saw it, I was really pissed off, and I'll tell you why. Because at the time we were a rapidly growing podcast, and we got demonetized on every platform that you can think of, and got strikes on YouTube and everything, and then literally shadow banned. And mainly the last strike we got, we were reading a CDC article, and we went from like. We were making okay money. It wasn't like we weren't Dave Smith or, anything like that, but we were making decent money, and the podcast was growing rapidly at the time. And then all of a sudden overnight we went from, we were upwards of like 10 million reach, literally down to like 100,000 overnight. It was like a 99.9% reduction.
Yeah.
And then all of the money was gone. So that we weren't allowed to monetize anything.
All the cutter money.
And then, God, that lasted for almost 3 years.
Yeah, we went from making
the cutter money. Is that what you're talking about?
What was that?
The Russia cutter, all that money. Is that what you're talking about? That dried up?
Yeah. Honestly, if they want to hit us up, that's. I'm not saying I wouldn't take any money. I'm not going to talk about what they want me to talk about.
What I mean is
it's cool.
What I mean is we weren't big enough, to like stave it off, like, the Ben Shapiros and the Hodge twins and like all the people who were able to speak out against COVID and like keep their platforms. We weren't that big yet.
Yeah.
We were one of the rising voices that they were able to shut down. So that was extremely frustrating.
I'll tell you, the same thing happened to me, and that's actually how I. Okay. Same thing happened to me. And that's how I met Dave, because I was reaching out to other podcasters, being like, "Hey, I got demonetized, deplatformed from all these different things. Can I come on your show and talk about it a little bit?" And Dave was setting up a show at the time, and I didn't realize he hadn't started. And he and I got to talking. Now he's been the co-host for the last 2 years or so. But COVID brought some people together at least. But it did. It wasn't great for business, getting deplatformed from Facebook and all that.
It definitely was not. We have not recovered to our pre-pandemic levels, like some people have. And
and then put inflation on top of that.
With inflation,
not even close.
It's just crazy, And plus, what I would have done with that money in the market, we're missing millions right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Can't sue the government, so
yeah.
Well, we're gonna do a hard pivot. What are you guys' thoughts on Kanye West? Big fans of his music, his antics, I assume, his proclivities.
I love him. I agree with everything he's ever said and done in his entire life.
Nazi fags.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to make sure that clip was available, for anyone in the future who wants to find it and cut that.
So you hate Jews.
Charlie, well, I don't know. Charlie has thoughts on this. So the other thing that I guess came out recently.
Who is Kanye?
The other thing, I didn't know anything about it until I saw your graphic for tonight's show. I was like, okay, what's this Kanye West thing? And that was my first.
Don't look into it. Do not. You'll regret it. Yep.
I did one article was enough, and that's enough for me.
That's
Charlie,
enough for you, but we're gonna go much deeper today, so we'll get you
I
there.
bet we are.
We'll make you a big fan.
I don't know the latest on Ye.
See, Charlie
Perfect.
doesn't even know what we're talking about right now.
No, I saw the note, but I didn't have time to look it up.
No, I'm glad you don't. I'm glad you don't. I usually tell Dave, if there's something like this, I'm like, don't look into it. I want your reaction live on air when we discuss Kanye West's latest antics. And here is the latest. He's had his downs and ups and downs and downs and ups and downs and downs and downs lately, but here is Kanye West's latest. Ye admits to having sex with his cousin on new song Cousin. Here's the post from Ye. This song is called Cousins. Cousins! I gotta shout it if it's all caps, but about my cousin that's locked in jail for life for killing a pregnant lady a few years after I told him we wouldn't. By the way, if you have kids in the room, they should leave.
Yeah, I feel like that should have been said before the show started. But yeah.
It should always be the case that your children leave whenever the show comes on. But if you're bad parents, you can let your children be in the room. Now's the time to not. Perhaps in my self-centered mess, I felt it was my fault that I showed him those dirty magazines when he was 6, and then we acted out what we saw. My dad had Playboy magazines, but the magazines I found in the top of my mom's closet were different. My name is Ye, and I... Anybody else want to read that real quick?
No,
Charlie, go ahead. Charlie.
He said, my name is Ye, and I sucked my cousin's dick till I was 14. Tweet sent. Yikes.
Now, I suppose when you get to a certain point in your career and you've like made swastika memorabilia for yourself and your whole thing is like shock value at this point, how do you shock people after you went full on Hitler and said, I love Hitler a bunch? What's next? Well,
yeah, I mean, honestly, if he would have asked me about this beforehand, I would have said, do not tweet that. That's so much worse than Hitler. Not a good idea, man.
Hitler was a bit much, but, this might be over the line. But it's not even just a post. He didn't just make a post. He made a whole fucking song about this incident that he decided to share with the world. And we're going to listen to it. Here we go. This is like my summertime jam. I'm gonna be cruising down the road pumping. Give my cousin head.
I'm embarrassed. This used to be one of my favorite songs, and now
what's that? What'd you say?
I said I'm embarrassed. It used to be one of my favorite songs, and now I'm having to rethink it.
It's a banger. That's probably enough. That's probably enough of. Yeah. I gave my cousin head.
I'll tell you what, it explains a lot.
Yeah.
So
explains a thing or two. Yeah.
I guess there's a market for everything.
The Kanye was sitting there being like, no one's talked about me in a while. How do I get?
It's been like 24 hours since I've had a tirade on Twitter about Nazis. So
I could write a song.
Couldn't it be a good thing though? Like, would you ever have the feeling that you want people to talk about you because of a good thing that happened? And does it always have to be crazy?
Yeah, could you just go back to making better music? Because we talked about you when you were making better music, and now you're just making like, I don't know. I was actually a big Kanye West fan back in the day. I just feel like all of it has gone so downhill, and his music at this point is just like, it feels slapped together for the sake of slapping music together and saying I'm a genius. I like much of Kanye West's catalog, but I can't tell you the last album that I listened to because it just, every time I listen to it, it sounds like just muttering over nonsense, and there's no real song structure or anything. It's just Kanye West being Kanye West at this point and thinking that he's amazing. And with this, it's like, okay, bud, like, you had an experience. I have a lot of questions about that experience because, I mean, it is mentioned that the cousin was 6, and he says that he did it until he was 14. So what was the age gap there exactly when this was going on? We can't exactly call Kanye West a victim if he was the older one in the relationship between him and his cousin. I don't know. Like,
They're both kids. So yeah, it's not like
Just a couple of kids.
just kids doing kid stuff, you know?
Wild. The song is bloody awful.
Yeah.
That's so it could have done a better job musically.
But you know
at
what?
least
These days, I bet he puts something out like that, probably makes some money from it. You know, that's that. Now I think maybe he's just trolling everyone who listens to him. Is like, let's see what's the craziest, just most god awful stuff I can put out there. You know, and just
what
see
else
if I can
do
make
to just make people talk about me for like 3 weeks straight. Like, that's all Kanye West is now, is a headline, a headline, a headline. It's not Kanye West put out a banger. It's Kanye West put out something fucking crazy. Now we're all going to talk about it for the next 3 weeks. And here we are. So I guess, you know, good job. You did it. This one was hard to not include in the news.
Joke's on us. We gave into it, you know?
Yep. All it took was 14 years of giving your cousin head to get us to talk about you, Kanye. Other people are talking about him, too. People that you might not expect to be in support. Well, the internet's been kind of divided. Some people are like, it's brave, it's noble of him to be this honest and put this out there. This is, you know, the honesty that more men need in the world, or something like that. And it's like, all right, well, maybe you talk to a friend, you talk to somebody about the trauma that you experienced as a child, you talk to a fucking therapist. Maybe it's not Twitter and a song celebrating, like, it doesn't feel like victimhood when you're making a song about it that is like, I did this, like, all right, well,
I did hear one part. There was one part he said the truth will set you free. So
Sure.
maybe that's what it's about. I mean, we could have a real conversation about this. Like, where were the parents?
Yeah. And
Like, how is it
well, what color were they? That'll tell you where they were.
for that long?
yeah.
You know, like, and what kind of magazines did his mom have? You know,
So
did she have Grinder?
honestly, it's
The
her
magazine?
It's her fault. That's what it was. I think we
anytime
can blame the mom.
Look, anytime kids get in a situation like that, you can blame the parents. I think.
Yeah.
I think you know, for it to happen like that, I think that there's definitely an issue there. And then of course we could go into the absentee of fathers, and you know, obviously his cousin's in jail for killing a pregnant woman. Like, kind of explains it.
That's not good.
It's not good. I think there's some real stuff in there. Now, if that happened to me, I don't think I would write a song about it. And if I did, the song would be a bit more cryptic. And then
yeah.
I wouldn't explain it on Twitter.
Yeah.
So
It wouldn't be like, I suck the dick and I like it.
yeah,
Like that kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Be able to pume.
Yeah. Now, with the split on, I mean, half the internet's saying, good job, you're super brave. The other half is saying, yikes, bro. All right, cool. And there's also the question of whether or not this even happened because, I mean, with the situation with Kanye at this point, it's like, I don't know, like, he's got some legitimate grievances and things like that, and he's had some struggles, but it's like, I don't even know what to believe with this guy anymore, because it seems like it's always just as inflammatory for attention as it possibly can be. So I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but it's hard to know. But one person that had a surprising reaction to this song and video was everyone's favorite Nick Fuentes.
I ride with
Well,
you
not
100%. I like people that are real. I like real human beings. Fuck haters. Fuck posers. Fuck fakers. I fuck with the new song too. The new song is good. So I'm a fan. I'm a friend. I'm a fan. That's the GOAT. That's a real ass nigger. Straight up. And I say that affectionately. That's a real ass nigga, and I love that man. So I stand. And, you know, he don't need me to stand with him. He put it out there. He doesn't need people to go, it's not a fucking political statement. Not everything's a fucking political statement. Not everyone's a fucking political.
Not everything's a fucking political statement, says Nick Fuentes. Yes. Sure. I lost the spot, but whatever. Nick Fuentes came out in support of it, and he was like, oh, brave. He was on the brave team, which, I mean, there's been allegations about Nick Fuentes's, orientation as well, and that one, like, really long video that he did way back in the day where he went on what seemed like a date with Catboy or whatever. I don't know. There's some things, if you dig into Nick Fuentes' history as well. So
I was not surprised that Nick Fuentes would be in support of that or that would like that song at all. That was not surprising. From what I can tell, that guy's pretty gay, which is fine nowadays. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
What he didn't show at the end of the video is Nick at the very end goes, and I fucked a goat.
Yeah,
and I liked it.
Yeah, exactly. You cut that part off. You edited that out deceptively. Edited that out of there.
That's right.
I did it to protect Nick Fuentes in his his true form. Mm-hmm. All right. We can move on. Speaking of Kanye West, his good friend is going to lead us into our quick break here in just a second. So we're going to get a quick word from Kanye West's really good friend, Candace Owens, and we're going to cut to break, and we'll be right back.
Then they get to hide behind their shell and say, oh, no, look, but also Nick
Fuentes
disagrees
with
with
Jordan
me.
Peterson, by the way.
So everyone disagrees with me is a Hitler Nazi Fuentes person. It's a nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense because they don't have the courage. They're actually cowards. They do not have the courage to debate their ideas legitimately. That is why it is a fallacy, because they're basically trying to establish a boogeyman that says, ooh, you can't think that too. Fuentes also thinks this. I'm not playing that game. So you can keep cutting clips of Nick Fuentes like Don Lemon did, like Piers Morgan did. Do you disavow? Nope, buddy, I am not going to sit here and disavow someone that I've never made a vow to. It's a nonsense. It's a game. It's a leftist tactic. If there is something that Nick Fuentes has said and you say, Candace, do you agree with this? I will happily disagree if I don't agree with it, because that's what I always do. That's literally what I've made a career doing. I have the courage to say, I don't agree with this person on that or this person on that. But I also have the courage to say, yes, I agree with this person, that we should not be transing children, that we should not be doing this. And so I am just really tired of what I believe to be neocon cowardice when it comes to rationally debating their ideas. And I think it's because they don't think they can win on the basis of their ideas.
That was from July 12th, 2024, almost a year ago. And there's still some things that might ring true. We'll get into that in just a moment. We'll get into the woke right and more depth on this right after this. We'll be right back. Have you or a loved one been injured by some fuck nuggets, reckless driving, a tumble at your shitty job, or some other form of dumb shit outside of your control? Well, fear not, because today's episode is sponsored by a lawyer. Lone Star Injury Attorneys is an award-winning personal injury law firm that achieves maximum results for its injured clients. Max the Axe is not just a lawyer, but a hardcore Mises Caucus libertarian and also a big supporter of this show and all of our bullshit. Max is the best personal injury lawyer in Texas, but don't judge him by his occupation or location. Max is an avid defender of liberty and justice in whatever state you got fucked in. If you've been injured and your ass needs saving, go with the pros at Lone Star Injury Attorneys. Visit LoneStarInjuryAttorneys.com or Google Max the Axe. Consultations are free and you don't pay a single dime unless you win. Once again, go to LoneStarInjuryAttorneys.com and get your ass covered.
Hi, I'm Ruby Wednesday, a strong, independent pup and a lifelong bitches advocate. I have a new channel where I share pieces of my life to try to help my fellow bitches cope by drawing attention to myself for clicks and validation. If you're into shows like Sex and the City, Gossip Girl, and an all-female reboot of The Call of the Wild, you're just the kind of wolf queen I'm looking for. Check me out now at Official Ruby Wednesday on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and all the strong bitch socials. At Official Ruby Wednesday. Go follow me and keep blocking bitches.
Hey there, do you like shirts? Of course you do. Well, get a load of these shirts from DissidentShop.com. Your one-stop shop for all the latest designs that will make your friends go, oh, wow. That guy is so based, I want to be his friend during the apocalypse. Go to DissidentShop.com and wear the dissidents you want to see in the world.
And we are back. I think we're back. Is everybody back from peeing? Are we all good?
Time. Just
What's
in
that?
time, Nathaniel. Just in time, Nathaniel sitting down.
I just took advantage of that pee break. I just sat back
Good.
down.
Good
I
timing.
appreciate it.
Well done. Now we have the headliner to get to here, which is our boy Jordan Peterson, who Jordan, I suspect we probably all have a bit of a history with Jordan Peterson. Do you guys have the same? Did you guys clean your rooms at one point in your life? Did you guys think about lobsters more than you should? Were you guys ever inspired by this guy, or what's you guys' history with Jordan?
Yeah, I guess I'll come out and say it's kind of tough to be dunking on Jordan Peterson. Serious moment here for a minute. Jordan Peterson's a big reason, like, that I'm here even right now. I'm 7 years sober, and 12 Rules for Life came out just at the right time, like right in the time where I was like, maybe I should clean up my room or whatever. And it was a very important book at that moment. But I know Charlie's gone through it too, and he's the one who showed me that book. So actually, it was you who kept me here.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, thanks.
Wow, that's a heavy cross.
Yeah.
To bear.
Yeah.
To bear.
You should bear it.
But you got to bear it. Yeah, I mean, I've been a big fan of Jordan Peterson for a long time, but yeah, I've never agreed with everything he says. I kind of take the Candace Owens route. It's like I agree. I probably agree with a lot of what he says, and I think that he's like the safer alternative to like Andrew Tate, let's say, when it comes to like men being men, and sort of standing up and actually. I think obviously why he became famous was basically standing up politically to the, let's say, the extreme left that was trying to further the woke agenda, and
censor speech, stuff like that.
And I think it stirred a lot of people to kind of get to where we are today, which is, I feel like we're trying to go back in the direction of free speech. And we're trying to, not get rid of trans people, but get rid of like the whole idea and exposing the lies, of the whole movement. So, obviously as a libertarian, if you're an adult, I don't care what you do. I'm still not going to call you, something that you're not, that I don't believe to be true. But I think the whole narrative and cancel culture and woke culture and all of that, I think he did a really good job of exposing that. And then I think he gave you he articulated some practical advice, I think, that resonated with a lot of people, young men and women alike. And then, some recent stuff that's come out, I don't know that much about it, but, there's always a point where people can go too far. And I think that's probably true of anyone. And so I think you got to call it out when you see it. You got to stick to principles. And that's the hardest thing for people to do, is to be principled.
Mm-hmm.
So
what about you?
Get you numbers.
Were you a fan of his?
I was a fan. I was a fan of his videos, watched some lectures and things back in the day. I never read his books. I did download his audiobook and listen to about half the first chapter, but maybe someday I'll get back into them. It might be a little bit more difficult to now, but I don't know. I'm curious. Chuck, right? You go by Chuck?
Yep.
That's Chuck over there.
Yeah, so you're like, people say some things, they make mistakes, whatever. I'm curious of, like, what was the last time Jordan Peterson has said something that made you go, wow, that's a Jordan Peterson banger right there?
Well, but before we get there, though, have you ever been to one of his shows?
No. Well, yes, I went to the rally that him and Russell Brand prayed on stage at. I'm not sure if that counts, but that was much more.
No,
of
you're
a
an
comedy
expert.
gathering.
That's
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you've been there.
Oh, you're gonna say I've never been? Yeah.
I wanted to make sure you've been.
I've been to the region. I have seen what goes on there, and I do have some Douglas Murray stuff that we can get into as well, because I think all of this kind of rolls well together with Jordan Peterson's episode they did with Joe Rogan yesterday, combined with the Douglas Murray stuff. But have you heard anything from Jordan Peterson? Like, what I saw that he was going to be with the Daily Wire, and I was kind of like, at the time I didn't have any issue with the Daily Wire. I didn't listen to all of their their podcasts or anything, but I was like, okay, cool. He's going to get more attention or something. And the Daily Wire was doing some good work, and they were like boosting Matt Walsh's street cred and all that. My concern was that he would become, instead of a psychologist for young men, he would become a political pundit who, plays that game. And that's exactly where he seems to have gone. So I'm mostly asking, like, since he has joined the Daily Wire, has there been something that he's put out that has made you go, wow, that takes me back to the Jordan Peterson days? Because I haven't seen it, but it might exist.
So, Nate and I actually went and watched the last time he was here in Nashville with the We Who Wrestle with God tour. And there were several things in there that I kind of took away I thought was really good. The main one with him saying that if you could get the public essentially to believe the lie that women can be men, then you can get them to swallow any lie. And I thought that was well put, because if you can get people to start to change their beliefs on what probably is some of the most basic concepts of science and biology, then you could get them to swallow any lie. And then that's the slippery slope. That's the pathway to hell, as Jordan Peterson would put it.
That is how he would put it. Yeah.
The depths.
You got to say it in the voice if you're going to say it's how Jordan Peterson would say it.
I can't do Kermit the Frog very well. So
it's just a pathway to hell, straight to hell.
Yeah. Staring to the abyss. The father's abyss.
I would say no to that question that you posed to Charlie, and exact thing that you pointed out. He went from being like a really cool psychologist that I was listening to, that I think was leading it. He was leading people in the right direction. If you were to take all of the things he said seriously and live them out, it might lead them in the right direction politically. Also, it was like a downstream effect of all the stuff that he was saying, but it wasn't overtly political all the time when he was talking about these things. And when he went to the Daily Wire, I was like you, I was excited at first. I was like, oh, cool, they're going to bring some more Jordan Peterson type stuff to the Daily Wire. And instead they brought more Daily Wire type stuff to Jordan Peterson, right. is what it feels like. And now when he's talking, even in this Joe Rogan interview, I listened to the whole thing yesterday and today. It's just different from what it used to be, because whereas he used to just be talking and figuring stuff out and trying to figure out what the truth was and whatever the question may be, now I feel like he knows the goal and the aim of where he wants you to land at the end of what he says. And so it feels more like manipulation when he's talking than just him trying to discover the truth during a conversation. And so I haven't been able to listen to him since he joined the Daily Wire.
Yeah. And I mean, what you're saying, this episode is clearly, evidence of exactly that, because in this, we don't need to totally front load it. We'll get into some clips here in a minute, but it's not arguing with points. It's not making arguments against what other people think. It's saying these people are crazy that think this way. These people are psychopaths. These people are evil. For a psychologist, it just seems odd to me that we're just going to use terms like psychopath from a psychologist to mean people that I disagree with on the internet and people who I disagree with politically. It's like if a doctor came out and was like, well, everybody has cancer because they don't like the war in Israel. It's like, what do you mean, doctor? No, you have cancer. You do. And I'm an expert on it. I'm able to speak on you having cancer. Anyway, let's play a couple clips here from the Jordan Peterson interview, and we'll go from there.
Really see this starting to happen on the right. Like, I've been tracking psychopathic behavior on the right for probably 4 years, something like that, especially on the anti-Semitic side, because that's really where it reared its head first. And
why is that?
There's nothing more annoying than a successful minority. Right. Now, that's part of it. And I'm going to, I might as well get myself in trouble right away, too.
Yeah, for sure.
There's nothing more annoying than a successful minority. It has nothing to do with the war, the atrocities and stuff. I mean, there's nothing more annoying than certain minorities that tend to be pretty annoying, but it's not that we're annoyed with you dropping bombs on children. That's less annoyance than it is, outrage or concern, if you will. But
yeah, we're at the point where he's saying that that's just your excuse, you anti-Semitic bigot. You're just using the pictures of dead babies as an excuse to be able to talk bad about Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing more annoying than a successful psychologist, I guess.
There's nothing more annoying than noticing patterns. But you did raise up a horde of autists. So pardon us if we don't find logic in all your statements as they get less logical over the years.
What I noticed in this, and I don't know how many clips you have to play from it, but what annoyed me about the sections where he does talk about the psychopaths and all that, because in all fairness to Jordan Peterson, this is a 3-hour long podcast, and I would guess that about 10 minutes of it are where they're talking about this stuff. And I will say there was actually some good stuff in the back half of this episode. I listened to the whole thing, and it kind of did harken back to some of the old Jordan Peterson talk. It all feels wrong. It feels like he's trying to get you to believe a certain thing, and not that we're just like magically discovering it during this conversation. Right. But what I think he was trying to do,
and it shows very clearly.
There's exactly. And what I think he's trying to do is exactly what Douglas Murray was trying to do at the beginning of that episode. Only I think he saw how that went for Douglas Murray and the way that Douglas Murray approached it.
I can make a better appeal to authority, and that will convince them all that Israel's great.
Well, here's what he did. Instead of telling Joe Rogan that this is dangerous and what he's done and the people that he's brought on and all that, he instead decides to go the route of humbling himself in front of Joe Rogan and saying, like, because I've had to deal with this too, because I have a podcast and I try to figure out, how do I make sure that I'm not bringing on people who are just, psychopaths or grifters or whatever. And he's essentially trying to, instead of telling Joe Rogan head on like Douglas Murray did, he's trying to manipulate Joe Rogan into arriving at the conclusion that Douglas Murray wanted him to arrive at. So the whole thing felt very manipulative, and I think Joe Rogan noticed it because he steered the conversation away from it every single time Peterson brought it up, really.
Which is unfortunate. I would have rather he let Jordan Peterson keep doing his, what I would call inverted psychology as opposed to reverse psychology, because it's all just complete bullshit. The dude was like fired from university for being opposed to people who insist that you go along with their ideology, otherwise you're evil. That was his entire shtick, his whole thing. That was the Daily Wire's entire shtick as well. And now it's like, well, if you don't agree with me, you're just a psychopath, because I've been watching you guys for 4 years. I've been watching these gripers for 4 years, and they're just psychopaths. Well, I mean, that's how is that any different than if you oppose BLM, you're a Nazi, or whatever they were saying like 3 years ago?
It's not. And when people throw around the terms woke right, I'm really confused about who the woke right are. I thought, honestly, that the woke right people were the, I don't know, Zionists or pro-Israel people who were screaming anti-Semitism every single time someone would criticize Israel.
It's a much better parallel. It's a much better parallel. That's that inverted psychology there.
Like, literally, I started using the term woke right when we were talking about this debate, and I totally had it backwards with who people were saying the woke right were. It's the exact opposite, I guess. It's the people who are critical of Israel that are the woke right. That doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
They just beat us to the punch. They're like, James Lindsay coined the term, so now that's what it means. It means anybody who opposes the war in Israel is woke right, and they're psychopaths and evil and on the fringe.
Isn't it so wild that he's talking about psychopaths on the right, and he's talking about people who are opposed to a war where so many innocent people are dying, and not the people like, I know you saw that Misfit Patriot post. That
I got
guy,
it in here. We can bring it up now. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone has read it already. It's got 2.5 million impressions on X, but yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with as many dead kids as it takes to stop Hamas. You people sound like woke leftists trying to make an emotional argument so you can argue from a position of moral superiority. I don't know if you want me to actually read this whole thing.
You don't have to read the whole thing. Honestly, when I saw it going around, I didn't read more than the first sentence because what do you need to read after the first sentence? The first sentence, I'm okay with as many dead kids as ... However you finish that sentence, you're a monster. So I don't care what your 12 paragraphs after that say. I've heard enough, and I did see him also calling out people like, "Oh, you cropped it, you left out the rest." It's like the rest didn't help, though.
Yeah,
like
worse.
It doesn't add anything to lessen the load of I'm fine with children dying as long as my political views are met.
Yeah, that's the weird thing that you guys mentioned, which is the psychopaths are the one arguing for peace, not the ones that are literally dropping bombs.
Dead kids. Yes.
Yeah. And then celebrating it. I mean, that it's like a celebration, as many dead kids as possible. Now, look, I understand Jordan Peterson is now surrounded by a lot of Jew friends, Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro. It's just true. And look, and it's also true that Jews have been persecuted for thousands of years. That's true. Right? I mean, they were slaves. They
kicked
Hitler
out of
tried to
109
exterminate.
countries. Yeah.
It's bad stuff.
There's a lot of terrible things that have happened.
6 billion of them died in the Holocaust. Go on.
October 7th was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not. No one should have to go through that.
I mean, it looked like a hell of a party up until that one point.
Yeah, it was looking real good until then.
Yeah, and Nate and I have said many times on the show, like, does Israel have a right to defend itself? Of course it does. But there are lots of ways you can defend yourself that don't involve just murdering children.
Yeah,
for the sake of murdering children.
U.S. dollars.
And it's what's weird. We talked about this on our show, is that there seems to be like this concerted effort that the warmongers have found their new folks that are going to push the new media in the direction that they want to push it, so that we get behind the wars that they still want because you still need a somewhat popular opinion to go to continue war.
Or at least to start one. You can continue it for a long time, but you need it popular to start one.
And so, they found the Douglas Murrays and the Jordan Petersons and all of these people who, if you say anything negative whatsoever, then you're not an expert.
It's a hate crime.
It's a hate crime. You should be deported to El Salvador, probably. And
have you ever been to El Salvador?
And you're a psychopath. And it's just wild to me that people, this whole thing got started over, Dave Smith and who's the history guy? Not a history guy, but he's a history guy.
You're talking about Daryl Cooper.
Daryl Cooper.
Yeah.
So this whole thing was about Daryl Cooper and Dave Smith. And it's like people that like simply ask questions, or even like guys like Scott Horton, because I know that a little bit in the Douglas Murray conversation was about Ukraine. It's like, if you ask questions or if you bring up another side of an argument, then you're the psychopath. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I feel like we've been here before and it didn't work out in their favor just recently with COVID. And I know that's something that Smith brought up in the Douglas Murray debate. And I don't see it working that way either. I don't see it working for them, even though they're going to continue to try it. It's just not going to work. I think for the most part, people can see through it.
Also, this whole guilt by association thing is very reminiscent of the entire guilt by association thing that the woke left have been doing for the last 10 years. And many libertarians, you guys have probably run into this too. If you platform Ryan Dawson, or if you platform Maj Touré on the wrong week, or if you platform Dave Smith, or if you say Hans Hermann Hoppe's name, then you are evil, because guilt by association. For Jordan Peterson to go on Joe Rogan and even hint at, like, why would you platform certain people? It's like, bro, that was your entire setup, your entire rise to power of any sort of authority, any sort of opinion that anybody cared about, was you were against the whole guilt by association thing. So for him to be doing this, and then in process, in this conversation, he does even, I think we'll get to it here in a minute, but he even references James Lindsay, because Joe Rogan brings him up. He's like, oh, is that like that James Lindsay thing with the woke right? And Jordan Peterson's like, well, he's onto something there. He's onto something, but he hasn't fully diagnosed it as psychopathy or psychopathic behavior yet. It's like, you're the psychologist, dude. Like, I mean, the woke right thing isn't like on its way to being correct. It's completely batshit out of left field, out of the entire thing that you were supposed to be opposing, and now you're adding on to that. Actually, they're all demons and monsters and Pharisees and evil if they disagree with my political opinion. Like, it's not that Jordan Peterson went from being, a middle of the road guy to being against. He went from being the exact thing he's opposing currently to, he went from being.
Yeah, that was right.
The thing that he is opposing. He completely inverted it, which I find quite satanic, and I will continue to call it inverted psychology from Jordan Peterson.
I would take it further than that. I mean, Jordan Peterson was literally like, he was Mel Gibson in The Patriot carrying the flag into battle at the end of that movie. That was Jordan Peterson when he argued, when he was all upset about them,
now he'd probably be mad if somebody platformed Mel Gibson.
When he was mad and speaking out against them, deplatforming, taking down Gad Saad, whatever his name is, Gad Saad,
I think.
Gad Saad.
I don't know.
Even the guy who made a funny joke with that woman's dog in Britain and got arrested. Mm-hmm. Jordan Peterson brought all of these things to light and was talking about how psychopathic the left was for trying to silence people. Alex Jones, and he made the argument.
And now he'd have the dog arrested.
Yeah, and he made the argument, which is a good argument. He was also championing as a J.K. Rowling, and he made the argument, which is the good argument. It's the right argument, that even if these people are saying things that may be hard to listen to, or maybe not truthful or whatever, that they need to be out in the open so that you can combat them with better ideas. And if you silence them, they only go to the basement and get stronger. Like, he was making those arguments.
Mm-hmm.
And now
send them to the basement, make their argument stronger.
Now he's completely flipped.
So are all the other people on the right that are just fine with all of the censorship we're seeing from the Trump administration right now. Like Peterson and all them are not alone in this. I mean, we've seen a lot of weird censorship happen here with the free speech party coming to power after all the stuff we went through with the woke crusades and COVID and all of that. And when it comes to this one thing, and that's what leads people to have these conspiracies and everything. Like, listen, I'm not a Israel Jew conspiracy guy. I never have been. I treat people as individuals. So I don't care if people run whatever certain industries or corporations, or I don't care if people are richer than other people or whatever the case may be. I look at people as individuals, but I do treat countries like they're countries in the same way that I would treat the United States. And so I can criticize the actions of a government and their actions in a war. And it's super annoying that can somehow be turned into being anti-Semitic. I do not care what their religion or nationality or race or whatever it is you want to call it. I literally couldn't care less what it is.
Are you being a dick? Like, yeah, are you down to hang? If you're one of the good ones in any category, if you're down to hang, I'm down to hang. If you're being an asshole, I don't care what your category is, you don't get special treatment. If you're being an asshole white, you're an asshole white. If you're being an asshole Jew, it's probably the same thing. But yeah, I don't know. With Jordan Peterson, it's also, there's something to hear Jordan Peterson using such dehumanizing language. Like, after he was the guy who was like, I weep for the incels because they don't get enough benefit of the doubt. They've got a hard time in life, those incels. And now he's like, Nick Fuentes is a parasite Pharisee and needs to go to hell forever. Like, oh, well, what happened there? And if you think, like, if you're working for a boss who happens to be Jewish and extremely pro-Israel and extremely pro this war, and this is the complete inversion of your message, don't be surprised when people start to make connections. That's not on them. You are literally giving them all the fuel for the fire that you're trying to oppose. But something about his dehumanizing nature for the incels like Nick Fuentes here seems off base for Jordan.
I think that virtualization has enabled the psychopaths.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, well,
without a doubt.
That's a terrible thing because the psychopathic types, they're always the death of everything. Like I'm seeing this come up on the right now. So imagine this. I've been working on a new theory of political psychopathology, and I like it quite a lot.
Is this where the term the woke?
I've got a new idea that I just came up with. I've been watching these guys for 4 years and trying to come up with a good argument against them, and I'm a psychologist, so I've got this new theory, and I really, really like it. That's Donald Trump verbiage right there, but he came up with this. He's saying, going into this, I came up with this, and let's try it out here. See if it lands.
Right comes in.
Yeah, well, Lindsay is pointing at that, but he hasn't got the diagnosis exactly right. So it isn't woke. That's not the issue. It's not exactly.
I think
one
what
level.
they're talking about is like similar types of behavior.
He is talking about that. Yeah, no.
But
What he's pointing.
Woke just lets you clarify in your head. Oh, it's like that.
Yeah, but the problem is
it's like Antifa.
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem is that argument is predicated on the claim that the ideas are the problem, like the woke ideas, for example, on the right or the left. But that's not the problem. The problem is that 4 to 5% of the population, something like that, is cluster B, that's the DSM-5 terms, histrionic, narcissistic, antisocial, psychopathic, or they have dark tetrad traits. They're Machiavellian, they're sadistic. That's about 4%. Okay, so the question is, how do these people maneuver? And the answer is they go to where the power is and they adopt those ideas and they put themselves even on the forefront of that.
Right.
But the ideas are completely irrelevant.
Right.
All they're doing is they're the Pharisees. They're the modern version of the Pharisees. They're the people who use God's name in vain, right? As they proclaim moral virtue.
Yes.
Doesn't matter whether it's right or left or Christian or Jewish or Islam. They
Doesn't
invade the idea space, and then they use those ideas as false weapons to advance their narcissistic advantage.
Yes.
And so then you have the problem, and the right's going to face this more and more, particularly because the left had to face it when they were in powers.
Yes.
How do you identify the psychopathic parasites, 4% of the population, who are clothed in your clothing and waving your flags, but who are only in it for narcissistic benefit?
Psychopathic parasites.
That is a great clip of projection.
Exactly.
Right? It's like psychopathic parasites who are dangerous and murderous, who try and leech onto other people. Go ahead, Chuck.
I was just gonna I'm no psychologist, okay? I'm not an expert in this, but I think I've learned enough to recognize what projection is. And what I find interesting about that,
you learned it from Jordan Peterson, probably.
Well, and obviously he's obviously talking about the folks that are speaking out against the war, even though he doesn't explicitly mention it in that.
He doesn't say anybody or any situation even. It's just
right.
broad spectrum, like psychopaths that believe things that are fringe.
But to pretend like the people who are advocating for peace, they're only claiming to have the moral high ground. And the ones who are advocating for war are the ones who have the actual moral high ground. The ones who are saying as many kids as it takes, like those are the moral folks waving the flags and acting like the people who are arguing against that are somehow the wolves in sheep's clothing is just total projection. It's total projection.
It takes me back to something from that Misfit Patriot post. I think it was perfect for this moment right now, because he even mentions in there that these are people who will take God's name in vain to advance whatever their narcissistic agenda is. And it reminded me of the Misfit Patriot post. It also reminds me of this war, because of course this is a holy war for the Holy Land, and these are God's people. And I mean, it fits so perfectly that I feel like I need to cut it and make it into like a Jordan Peterson versus Jordan Peterson thing, something like that. And but you could say he's talking about Israel and their supporters in this war the whole time, like Charlie said, it's projection. But like this guy in the Misfit Patriot post says, Literally every single Palestinian can die if that's what it takes to save Israel. How many kids were in Sodom and Gomorrah? God didn't give an F, because my mom might listen, about how many, because the number of people, because he didn't care about how many, because the number of people who were righteous was 0. He is using a story from the Bible where God says that there were no righteous people. You can destroy those people. That's fine. But God said that,
right?
Not
the United States is God now in this
heaven.
And God did it.
Yeah, he did it.
But these people are essentially saying that our tax money has created machinery that is now God, that can rain down fire on the people in Gaza, because look at Sodom and Gomorrah. It's exactly what Jordan Peterson is talking about.
See what God did? That's why our government God is allowed to do the same thing. It's just as justified as anything God would choose to do. And I mean, you can get into like arguments about biblical accuracy and that type of thing too, and what God did or didn't say and all of that. But it's like, just on face value, you're saying that the United States government in conjunction with the Israeli government is God, and they are acting as God, and you are not allowed to question it because God said so. Because Trump is God, I guess. I don't know.
Well, and then he goes on to talk about, protecting your reputation. And is that, I mean, after Israel's crimes, war crimes, the government's war crimes, I'm not saying Jews are bad people. Okay, this isn't anti-Semitism, but after the Israel's war crimes of killing, who cares if it's 10,000 children? Let's say 30,000 children is the wrong number. Let's call it 10,000. We'll take a third. Okay, those are still war crimes, and it's disgusting. And to then use his own language there to try to flip that and say that's that we can't give rise to those voices when Israel is the one who's trying to protect. They're using the exact things he was talking about to further their narcissistic aim, which is to protect their reputation as the Holy Land or holy people, or doing the right thing, that they have the moral high ground while they're pursuing their narcissistic aim. It's amazing how he laid it out.
I think it's highly likely that Peterson is such a good psychologist that he might have accidentally given us the best example of projection that we've ever seen. Like I think he's got, like, I don't know which one's up the other's ass, but Jordan Peterson's so far up Ben Shapiro's ass that that's just how it came out. He didn't even notice. He's so good at this that he's become almost a narcissist who thinks they're pulling one on everyone because they're so much smarter than everyone else. And it makes me so sad to say this about Jordan Peterson. It really does.
Brings me no joy to make the title be Jordan Peterson is a psychopath. But if Jordan Peterson's going on Joe Rogan and saying, you need to not have people on who say inflammatory things that could be dangerous, and he's like, these are narcissistic psychopathic parasites if they live in my community or live in my United States and they disagree with my political opinions. Like, when Jordan Peterson joined the Daily Wire, like, do you guys remember that first clip that he put out where he's like wearing the Joker suit and he's like, up yours, woke moralist, we'll see who cancels who. And now he's like, I am the woke moralist, and I don't think Joe Rogan should be able to platform these people anymore. Like, it's just beyond the pale insane, no matter where you even land on any of the political stuff or any of the war stuff. Like, to see if you're using any sort of logic and honesty in what Jordan Peterson is presenting right now, it is completely the opposite of what he's ever pushed. And he's also, again, calling out the poor incels. Now he's saying that they are, well, let's just hear from him.
To rely on, like, how do you keep the bloody psychopaths at bay?
Right.
And the conspiracy theorist mongers and the people who aren't trying to discover the truth, but who are using the conspiratorial edge, let's say.
The grifters.
The groypers, for that matter, right? These are people who are clearly playing power games for their own benefit, and they're spinning up these conspiratorial narratives and riding on them and occupying them in this parasitical manner. This is a huge problem already on the right-wing side. I rely on.
Huge side. The right wing is falling apart because the evil groypers are suddenly around, but he's been watching them forever, and suddenly now he needs to speak out about them. And they are parasites. They're just the lowest of low because, again, he doesn't argue with any of their talk points. He doesn't argue with any of Dave Smith's talk points. He doesn't argue with anybody's talking points. Nate, right? Your name's Nate. Sorry, I'm bad with names.
That's me.
Okay. Nate, you said you watched the entire Jordan Peterson episode. You said there was a lot more to it than what meets the eye. I haven't watched the entire episode, to be fair. Is there a point where he gives these groypers the benefit of the doubt? Is there a point where he argues with Dave Smith's talk points or any of the things that he is pushing back against? Because it seems from these clips, and these clips could be completely edited out of context, it seems like from these clips, the only reason he brought this up was to be like, I can appeal to authority better than Douglas Murray did. Tag me in, coach, and I will tell Joe Rogan why he's wrong better than you did. Am I wrong?
No, he did not come back to the Groyper comment at all. He didn't talk about, there was no more talk about the Douglas Murray debate or Dave Smith or really any of the conversation concerning Israel. There was an interesting moment where he talks about how essentially governments or leaders can use the feeling of an impending apocalypse to get people to do anything, basically. And what's interesting,
historical apocalypses.
Yeah, and so Joe Rogan came in and he's like, "Well, if you're in Gaza, you might feel like it's the apocalypse right now." And he goes, "If you're a Houthi in Yemen, you probably feel like it's the apocalypse right now." I don't know if Rogan was meaning to say like, well, those people are feeling like it's an impending apocalypse, and so maybe that could lead them to do anything, like you just said was the case. And Peterson, I believe, didn't even have a response to that comment. I think they immediately switched to something else. Peterson did. I think Peterson really came on there with the intention of diagnosing this Douglas Murray debate and trying to get Rogan over to Douglas Murray's side, because he brought up the psychopaths. He kept trying to bring up the psychopaths like randomly in conversation. I'll with an extreme example, Rogan's like, yeah, MMA and this fighter's pretty good, and Peterson's like, just like the psychopaths, and no, that's not what happened. But
here's what's even crazier to me when he talks about the conspiracy theorists, and this is like literally on the heels of the craziest scams that have happened in human history that just happened, that were labeled conspiracy theorists. And we started off the show with it. It turned out to be fucking true. Yeah. That's how pissed I am about it. I'm still pissed. They turned out to be true. All the conspiracy theories about COVID turned out to be true. And this is like, he's saying this like we're not even out of the fog yet. Of course, everybody wants to forget about COVID, but we're not out of it yet. We're not out of the destruction that it's caused. I mean, people are still living paycheck to paycheck, and they don't have jobs, and they're struggling in the economy, and the prices are out of control, and like people are still struggling,
and we haven't made it back to our pre-pandemic income yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
now they're trying to cancel us harder. They're trying to cancel people that agree with them on everything but this war. Like, they're trying to cancel the people that they are pretending like now they're supportive of, the people that were speaking out against COVID stuff. Us, the people that were being honest. Now they are trying to cancel us while being like, we are the free speech champions. And next point brings me to my next point. Did you guys vote for Trump? What's your stance on Trump? Where have you been the whole time?
We did. We both voted for Trump separately in different booths at different times.
Who's we?
Who's we? We haven't voted. Yeah, we both did. I started off being very excited about the whole thing, just like Charlie did, really, and maybe some other libertarians as well. Not, like libertarian.
Was this the first time you guys voted for Trump?
Yes. Yeah,
me and Dave too. So. Neither of us supported him the first two runs, and this time we did. So, yeah.
Yeah, same thing, and it really had a lot to do with Doge. Maybe a little bit of freeing Ross. I'm sort of. I'm glad he's free, but if Trump would have been like, I'm going to free Ross and I'm gonna crater the whole economy and create a bunch of inflation and stuff like that, and I'm
Bomb
gonna
the shit out of
institute-
Gaza.
Like,
I'm
I
going to
would
deport
love
people who speak out against it and convince Jordan Peterson to agree with me on deporting people that disagree with us on this war. Yeah, I might have voted differently if he was honest. He was a really good liar, though, and that's kind of the job, is to lie the best, and he lied the best, so I don't regret it.
I think a lot of this stuff is sort of lies of omission, really. Like, I'm surprised at how far they've gone with some of the censorship stuff pertaining to Israel. And honestly, I'm fine with deportations and I'm fine with a wall or whatever. I don't like the idea of sending people directly to a prison. I think that's a little dangerous. I think the government makes a hell of a lot of mistakes, and it's dangerous enough to send people to prison in the United States. Tough for them to get out. I'm not a fan of that. I don't know if that would have swayed my vote, though, so I guess I don't care that much about it. The Doge thing looks like it's a pretty big failure to me. They went from cutting $2 trillion to cutting $1 trillion to cutting $150 billion, and
to cutting Vivek Ramaswamy, to cutting. I've heard rumors that Elon Musk isn't even working there anymore. Like, hey, I mean, if we're cutting government waste and they're not doing their job, I guess get them out of there.
Yeah, it's and they're not even real cuts. Like, they've got to put this stuff into law. They got to do rescission packages if they want to make. Other than that, what they've done is they've freed up money in their budgets to do other things that they care about, and they're calling those cuts. But really, they've just freed up money in the budget by canceling some of these contracts, so they can then do other terrible things that the government shouldn't be doing. And so it's been a pretty big disappointment. But as our disclaimer always goes, I think it's better than Kamala.
Right. It's a big disappointment, and it could have been worse. It still could have been worse. What did we have? We were going to push Chase Oliver. No one at all says, fake super chat, why are we listening to anything JP has said in the last 5 years? He's been on so many SSRIs and benzodiazepines. His mind isn't his anymore. He also raised a whore. And I would, if I could ask Jordan Peterson one question. Well, I don't know. There would be a few questions, but I would ask him, like, how does he feel about his daughter shacking up with Andrew Tate? That's Clown World crossover to the max right there. That's like something in like the Marvel universe that
I missed the Michaela being a whore thing. Happened. I missed the whore Michaela part.
Yeah, didn't she have a kid with Andrew Tate? I'm pretty sure that's the case.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh,
I'm going to need to look at this.
I have no idea. Is that her latest kid?
Do you think that the drug situation, do you think that the stake-only medical issues, the drugs, if we just set the Daily Wire Association aside for a second, is there anything in you that thinks that it's possible that some of the drug issues that he has admittedly had has caused to his complete inverse of course in his messaging?
I do. I think he's been completely different since he came back. His next book, 12 More Rules for Life. Is that what that was called?
We Who Wrestle with God. Is his latest book.
Well, the next book after 12 Rules for Life. Yeah, 12 More Rules.
His next book, The 12 Jewish Commandments for Life, is going to be a banger.
Yeah. It wasn't near as good. I don't know, Charlie. Did you notice the difference at that time, or do you think it was Daily Wire?
No, but we saw him live actually when he first went back on tour, and he was not the same. He was not the same pre benzos, that's for sure. Pre-Russian hospital, he wasn't the same. I take a different take though, Dan. I think he hasn't completely inversed his position. He definitely has when it comes like specifically to Israel and Jews. Mm-hmm. But I think I listen to a lot
and freedom of speech and like guilt by association and all that stuff, platforming and whatnot. But yeah,
like we said, just Israel.
Yeah,
well, pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, what I'm saying is, I listen to like Nate said, give the devil his due, like Jordan Peterson says. There's a lot of that podcast that I think is pretty good. It's normal Jordan Peterson, I would say. But I mean, we've talked about the real problem. This entire anti-Semitism thing, experts and platforming and psychopaths, like, yeah, that's a real issue. So I don't know. I guess we'll see where it goes from here. I just don't think they're going to get away with it anymore. I think there's enough voices.
It does seem to be getting harder for them to push this type of propaganda. Like whether Jordan Peterson's doing it intentionally or he's just a fucking cog in the machine, it seems that this message is getting harder, or this control of the message is getting harder to do. I've seen some posts on Twitter that are like, see, this person commented on this, and that means because that got more likes, that means there's more Nazis on this platform or whatever. Or it's like, or maybe the people that you're calling Nazis are people who are being honest, and the truth is finally having a chance to grow in popularity, and people are looking into some things. And
what'll be the tell is if Joe Rogan has Daryl Cooper on again. That'll be, because look, there's a lot of people who've been trying to cancel or control Joe Rogan for a long time, and he talks to whoever he wants to. Yeah. I think the real tell will be, because he always has repeat guests. I think the real tell will be whether or not he has Daryl Cooper back on. I think he will.
Oh, he definitely will.
So they lose. They lose because the number one podcast is still going to do what the number one podcast does. Now,
and even after the Douglas Murray, Dave Smith thing, like the buzz the next week was Joe Rogan had Tim Dillon on, and they dared mock Douglas Murray, and they were doing the voice and saying, "You never been," and stuff, and ha ha ha, and just that one little clip was enough for that to trend. And the main thing that I saw at that point was everybody being like, "Well, yeah, it's fucking funny," and they're comedians. That's their expertise, if you will. And who are you to comment on their jokes if you've never been a comedian?
I'm severely disappointed that he hasn't played our video on the show yet. I'll be honest.
You guys' video was a banger, and I will say also, as soon as I saw the Jordan Peterson thing, I was like, those guys should do a Jordan Peterson video, because I feel like it's going to be even easier to find clips of Jordan Peterson disagreeing with current Jordan Peterson, because, again, Jordan Peterson's entire thing before was entirely against what he's saying, at least in these clips here. And we do have one more clip that I want to play. He went on Fox News right after and quadrupled down.
Well, I think the most important thing to do first is to draw a distinction between the political and the psychological, and not to collapse them together. So imagine this. Imagine that there's a group of individuals, about 4% of the population, who have a set of personality characteristics that have been described as dark tetrad. So they're Machiavellian, they use their language to manipulate, they're narcissistic, they want unearned social status and reputation, they're psychopathic, which makes them free of empathy and parasitical and predatory, and they're sadistic. So they take positive delight in the unnecessary suffering of others. Now, those people also use false cries of victimization, let's say, to manipulate, and they're entitled. They seek vengeance when it's unwarranted, and they protest loudly and make very public cries for reparations that would be self-serving. Okay, now the way those people operate is they look...
Wait, who's he talking about here?
Exactly. I know, the whole thing.
This whole thing sounds very anti-Semitic to me.
Right? Like, if you just put in one word difference or said one word, this would be lambasted by Jordan Peterson as pharisaical and fringe and evil.
For what patterns of belief form groups that they can infiltrate and then capitalize on. And that happens on the right. We did a report, the same group, on the use of Christ as king as a manipulative strategy by bad actors, hypothetically on the right. And this report identified the same sort of people on the left. But it's not primarily political.
Silly woman.
They're wolves in sheep's clothing who look for where there's power and value and then adopt those beliefs as a surface camouflage so that they can elevate their moral status. Now, and this has become worse in recent years, as far as I'm concerned, because the evolved strategies that we have for dealing with these psychopathic types, psychopathic narcissistic types, don't work well online. And so the psychopaths can get away with their terrible manipulations online, and they can find like-minded people, and they can escape from any reputational consequences. And so there's always been psychopaths. Those are the Pharisees, for example, that Christ points to, the religious pretenders, Those are the people who use God's name in vain and claim moral virtue and even religious devotion. Well, all they're doing is feathering their own nests and furthering their own narrow interests. And the web, social media, anonymity enables them to organize and also hides them much more effectively. And this is a problem in religious organizations. It's a problem in political organizations, and it pathologizes the whole culture. You know, most people, 80% of Americans agree on virtually everything. And then there's these fringe people, and they're not political. They're psychopathological narcissists who cloak themselves in political guise. And we all have to learn to distinguish between the political and the psychological.
We sure do. The political and the psychological. First off, he keeps saying, like, it's not about your ideology. It's about your psychopathy. It's about your psychology. It's like, isn't that the same fucking thing? Your ideology being what you believe, what you put out into the world, or your psychology, what you believe and how that goes into what you put out into the world. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts. Go ahead, Nate.
Once again, that in this case, condensed down Jordan Peterson into newsbite form is even worse than the previous Jordan Peterson clip, because he hit all of the lowlights that we heard in the other.
Right. Yes. Like you're trying to make the case for Jordan Peterson said a lot of other good things, and then Jordan Peterson immediately after this is like, let's take all the worst things, all the clips that everybody's pulling out of context supposedly, and I'm gonna put that all into one 5-minute or 3-minute clip and put it out on Fox News.
I couldn't have cut that together myself.
Just pure, right?
Just pure.
So those are his proudest points. Those are his main talk points.
I do wish they would expand a little bit on who exactly he's saying are the psychopaths. Let me be nuanced here for a minute. I'm sure there are some psychopaths out there that are just grifting on the movement and out there so they can just say hateful stuff, not because they agree with Thomas Jefferson or something, but because they think that this group of people is going to be open to it, and maybe they can get some impressions on X.
I mean, Thomas Jefferson on the slavery stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly that specific part. And so I'm sure those people do exist. What I do wish is, maybe I do wish that him and Rogan would have talked about it a little bit longer, so Rogan could say,
like who?
Like who do you mean? Who are the psychopaths? Are you talking about my friend Daryl Cooper? Are you talking about my friend Dave Smith? Or, are you talking about Nick Fuentes?
My countless other friends that you're trying to demonize me for talking to. Which one?
Are you talking
Which
about
one? What are you talking about?
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens. I don't know what to think about Candace Owens, except for that I appreciate the retweet last week. That was fine.
She's basic shit.
But I don't listen to her that much, but I see some good clips and some bad clips every now and then, so that's my official.
Candace Owens is currently the best journalist in journalist world because she doesn't give a fuck, and she's not always right, I'm sure, but she is always, I feel like, honest, because there's almost no benefit. I would say no benefit to being as honest as she is. Jordan Peterson would say she's a parasite who's grifting off of the worst fringes of our society. Or maybe she's just calling it like she sees it, and Jordan Peterson clearly is not doing that.
Yeah, agree or disagree, many of the people we just mentioned, even if they're wrong, let's even say if they're wrong, that doesn't make them psychopaths. They could be people who believe what they believe, and they really believe it based on all the evidence and all the things that they've seen, but it doesn't mean that they're psychopaths who are out there just grifting on people and trying to destroy movements or trying to destroy people or whatever it is. These are people who believe something different from you, and that does not mean that they are psychopaths. So this is sort of a dangerous thing for a clinical psychologist to mass diagnose.
This is all of cancer. You have cancer if you don't agree with this war.
This whole time, are you guys just saying that Steven Crowder was right?
Which time?
Well, what, when he hit his wife?
You mean when he didn't let her have a car?
No.
Yes, I've always agreed with that part, but what's your question?
When he exposed the Daily Wire and recorded conversations?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's what I was meaning. Yeah.
I mean, that to me seemed more like inner struggle session where it was more about him getting a good deal or a bad deal and trying. I don't know that he had any deeper insight to any of this, but all of these things. It's funny that you bring that up because like all of these, Tim Pool's has some controversy and stuff. All these people who are big influencers and people who seem to kind of they are dissidents. They are against the mainstream narrative, except for on certain very touchy subjects. And then they're like, well, let's talk about that. And those people seem to have the most inner turmoil with each other. And I don't know. It seems like that's all a grift. The grift that Jordan Peterson is saying that Nick Fuentes is doing. I don't care about Nick Fuentes. I'm not here defending Nick Fuentes, but if you think that Nick Fuentes is a grifter who has been debanked, deplatformed, like on a no-fly list on all these things, he clearly believes to some extent what he's saying. He's not just grifting off of anything because he's not getting anything but problems for the stuff that he's pushing. I don't know, like for Jordan Peterson to call anybody a grifter feels at the very least hypocritical at this point, because Jordan Peterson's now a political pundit who's saying that free speech shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah. Disappointment is how I feel about that. It's disappointment. And as we've said many times, it seems to be projection. And I think he thought he was going to do such a good job cloaking this and whatever his diagnosis of psychopathy was for people that no one was going to notice.
So you're saying he's the Sanjay Gupta of anti-Semitism.
Exactly. That's exactly how I would
That's
put it.
what Jordan
sure.
Peterson is now, which is real sad.
It is sad. I hope that there's still enough 2017 Jordan Peterson left in there to realize this eventually and to turn back around to I don't know. I don't know if it can happen at this point, but hey, there's a possibility that could happen, and I would enjoy that. I don't like political pundit Jordan Peterson, so I'm ready for a psychologist because I need a psychologist. Honestly, mine died,
and that's why we liked you to begin with, Jordan. But we are long in the tooth here. We're a little bit over time. We need to jump into the after party, and we've got a few things to talk about, including, I'll give a little teaser here. When must we kill them is the first headline that we're going to read, and then we'll probably get into some libertarian nonsense and other things. But guys, thank you so much for being here. Any final thoughts from both of you, and where can people find you? Anything you guys got going on, or whatever you got coming up?
My main final thought is thank you for having us on. You do a great job with all the production on this, by the way. I don't know. What I want right now is for your listeners to give you a round of applause and some appreciation, because all the little stuff that you're doing during this show right now, it takes a lot of time to make all those things and to actually do them, to do it live. And so first off, you're doing a great.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Case in point.
Fucking thing sucks.
Right? If you say you gotta wait it out.
That's the main thing. I guess the other thing is that we are on your favorite podcast app is Good Morning Liberty, or you can type in BernieLies.com in your browser, and that'll take you to all the links that we have. Or you can go to GodHatesFeds.com and get yourself a God Hates Feds t-shirt.
Nice. I've not heard that URL. I'm a fan.
No,
good get.
Good stuff.
Good job.
You should see the shirt. It's good. It's a good shirt.
Shirts be damned. Like, great URL. Good get.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Chuck, you got anything? You got any final thoughts?
I think Nate covered it. I think that was it. Nothing. I mean, I feel like we kind of beat the Jordan Peterson horse to death. But I do appreciate you having us on, and
Any final thoughts on Kanye West in that whole situation?
No.
Prefer not to think about it anymore, actually. And I recommend everyone else.
As sad as Jordan Peterson being a Fed made me, Kanye West being Kanye West made me even sadder. So, it is what it is. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for hanging out and with us on this Wednesday evening. And we will keep the party going for a bit longer and talk about a bunch of crazy nonsense, even more offensive stuff in the after party. Go on over to patreon.com/The System Is Down and check it out right now. You can follow me at TSIDpod on the X's or the Twitters. Dan at tsidpod.com is the email. And let me know if you have any questions, any thoughts, any, I don't know. If we're doing more guests and Dave's going to keep being a bitch and not showing up, let me know if you got any other cool guys that you guys like to hear. Because I saw a lot of comments in the chats of people saying, I'm glad these two, or these two pairs paired up to some degree, because they're our favorite, whatever, commentators or nonsense bedroom
I do have to ask
talkers.
you, do you watch the YouTube chat?
A bit, yeah.
Who is not Salmon Fish? I have to know.
Oh, I don't know him personally. He seems to be angry much of the time, and he usually has very strong words. But fake. In all caps, fake super chat in the chats if you want us to read them. Sorry, it's too late, and one person got it. Put in all caps fake super chat because YouTube is still not allowing us to take super chats. But I don't know who that person is, and I love all my commenters, and they are welcome to argue with themselves however they want.
We want them censored before we come back.
Preferably. I read Jordan Peterson's 12 Hebrew commandments for life, and they should be censored immediately. Thank you all for hanging out. We'll see you guys in the after party. Until next time, question everything, stand comfortable, and we will talk to you then. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. Smash all the like and subscribe buttons because that's what we say at the end of videos. Good night, everybody.
This concludes our broadcast day.
This has been a Dissident Media production. DissidentMedia.net.